Hi, welcome to Leap Taken. This is Mika. Here at Leap Taken, I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. Today, I want to talk just a little bit about those of us who struggle with having a relationship with a God. Now, I just want to delineate, I'm specifically saying God, not goddess. I think a lot of us who practice witchcraft, and by the way, practicing witchcraft doesn't mean that you have to have a relationship with a god or goddess. Um, However, for those of us who choose to, it's sometimes a struggle to make a connection with a god. So that's what we're going to get into today. But before I get into it, go ahead and please subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to this channel and like the video as well. It makes sense here on YouTube to have that done. Apparently, that's how, they other people find out about you and so forth and so on. So please do that. So I got my favorite little mug here, and it doesn't come up on camera, but it says this mug contains magic. Um, Lamika, I forgot her last name. They sell these at Michael's. She makes stickers and planners and all this sort of stuff because crazy planner lady over here. She made this cup, and she's an African American woman, and to me she's like your everyday girl, and I wanted to support her, so I bought a bunch of her stuff, including this mug. Actually, my daughter got the mug because I went back the second time. She's like, "Oh, I'll get you this mug." So thanks. Anyway, and it does have magic in this. This is this potion I'm working on is gonna do some things for me. But anyway, all right. So I'm getting to it. Why you're struggling with having a relationship with a god? Most of us have no trouble like maintaining a relationship with a goddess. I did a whole video on how to, relationships with a goddess or breaking up with one and so forth. It's not difficult for most women. I notice. Honestly, I don't even want to say women. I think even some of the men who practice witchcraft to connect with the goddess. There's something nurturing. It feels good. It's the warm. It's literally a spiritual warm hug. I have had that feeling of reaching out to a goddess in my earlier stages and just feeling like someone hugged me. I felt warm all over, and it was a physical feeling. And I just needed her in that moment, and that feeling overcame it. Trust me, I was not in the mindset to just think this up myself. I had a real reaction, a real physical reaction. I felt warm, felt like arms were being wrapped around me, and I was alone. Um, I was feeling really, I needed that validation, and I needed um, that feeling. I'm one of those people who believe almost a hug can resolve a lot of issues, between, two people, whether it's no matter the relationship. Anyway, uh, so there's that nurturing side, there's that safe side. Typically, people tend to feel safer with feminine type energy, so I can completely understand the lure of only working with a goddess. I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm literally talking about myself. So I'm kind of exposing myself a little bit right now. But why is it so much more difficult to have the same relationship, or where to begin and have an authentic, organic relationship with a God? For some of us coming from organized religion, that's problem number one. A lot of us ran fast and hard away from Christianity and Islam, or Muslim faith. A lot of us ran from that, so we don't want ran to get far, put distance between us, so that we didn't want to incorporate that into our lives anymore. And especially if you look at history and all that sort of stuff. And listen, I'm not here to beat up on anybody's belief, so don't beat up on mine. But um, it doesn't. There's a reason people are either identifying as other or just atheists altogether. But most people want to have some sort of spirituality in their life, but organized religion just is not it. One of the reasons is, the whole patriarchy and the God form, the God figure, the father. He makes all the rules. It feels stifling when you're a woman? And also, where is the duality? In almost all of nature, there's duality in physical nature. And even how we view outer space and how we talk about planets and we talk about astronomy, there's a sense of duality. But when we are in this, faith system that's supposed to be what you build your life on, and it's supposed to be reflective of us, the women don't seem to have a role other than just being a spare body part, grown. And I just, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want to, I don't like that role. That's not something I can kind of get on board with. Um, so, because I have probably those more hostile feelings toward that concept of the God figure, Christian God, whatever, um, I'm not very quick to probably welcome in that type of energy. I'm gonna feel very guarded. Uh, I'm gonna feel like that particular energy is gonna take over and want to stifle the goddess or the feminine energy that I get from the deity, or that I feel from that, or I expect from that deity or goddess. I'm going to feel like it's an all or nothing when you're dealing with a god. And there's a certain amount of worship I have to do and have to evoke him. And maybe I don't want to. Maybe I'm sick of that masculine, energy. I don't want that. Let's just, I spent, more of my life focusing on that and less on the feminine. So why would I want to do that? The answer is because it's balancing. It's the yin and yang. It's the duality I'm talking about. Now I know there are systems who only like what is it, Dianic Wiccans? They only work with goddess. Okay, I understand. Again, I'm not here to put anybody's faith system down or belief system down. So what I do have is an opinion. I think you're going to run into some issues with your spirituality, or and the issue being not something horrible, more you're not really getting the full experience. You're not preparing yourself for what's to come, with your spirit as you go forward. And by the way, we tend to just, when I say feminine and masculine energy, it's not so much about sexuality. It's not about sexuality at all. That's not what I mean. It's something bigger than that. So I'll just say that if you're not sure, research that a little bit more, because if I go into that, I'm going to go on a full blown tangent. So let's just stay with this for a moment. Just know that's not what I'm specifically talking about. Um, so how do you fix this? How do we fix this? How does somebody like me, how do I fix this? Someone who is intelligent, I want to learn. I don't know everything, but part of the intelligence is wanting the desire to learn more. So I want that balance, I want that duality present in my spiritual system. But I have reservations, about that. My reservations are pretty much what I just outlined. That takeover, I don't want a God to come in and take over and be demanding and want more, because that's how the Christian God, and which is what I'm familiar with, came across to me. There's somewhere I remember it was preached to me. I remember this being in church, and at this point I was a teenager, so I remember exactly what that minister said. He said he was reading something from scripture, and look, I don't have scriptures memorized because duh, why? Anyway, but he said something about my God is a jealous God. Uh, one, my immediate thought was there are other gods. Two, that's just such a petty characteristic. Why are you jealous? If you create everything, who are you? What are you jealous of? And that's the energy I think of when I think of a God. You know, obviously, it doesn't have to be a Christian God, but that's what I think. So that's the problem. That's my issue. That's my whole deal. So getting past that is confronting it uh, doing my own shadow work on, you know, how to overcome this. I don't have to dig very far because I pretty much just outlined where this is coming from. It sounds very an oppressive faith system, which is why I, didn't want to stay with it. And again, um, I'm so grateful to my ancestors who just landed me in the right place at the right time to get even more educated. To understand, it's like everything was putting me on a path. It wasn't by accident. And it just, and it all happened so slowly and without any real effort, just me kind of just showing up and experiencing things. And eventually it, created a foundation. And, here I am today. But by the way, spoiler, that's kind of how shadow work works. You got to go deep and understand it's more than just your reaction. It's more than just how you feel right now. This is coming from someplace else. So you need to explore it. I am actually, someone commented and asked about going deeper into what is shadow work. So I'm working um, on a series. I did a shadow ritual. I actually pulled up, I have here by my side, my book of shadows, my older one, where I did a shadow ritual back in 2018. And I referenced, what is her name? Jessie Huntenberg. She's a YouTuber. I used what she was talking about, one of her videos from back then, her shadow work videos, because I found it really inspiring. I really like her, by the way. Yeah, Jessie Huntenberg. Yeah, that's what I got written down. But anyway, I used her at that time as a guideline because that was super helpful to me. Going forward, years later, of course, she's inspired me then, and it was helpful, by the way. Her videos were super helpful. But in the meantime, I have been developing my own ways of sort of practicing and going through the process of shadow work and what it means and all that sort of stuff, because it has to resonate with you. You can always look at someone else's ideas and views on, this type of stuff and be inspired, and but you have to make it your own. It has to make sense to you for it to work. But anyway, yeah, so dealing with all of this is kind of, I'm speaking out loud a little bit of how this whole shadow work thing works, going in a little bit deeper, trying to understand why am I like this, where everyone else can just evoke a god and, speak very pleasantly about it and feel protected with that energy, those other positive aspects of what we might consider masculine, the protection piece, I'd like that. But for some reason, it's like I got a huge thing. Now, I'll be honest with you. I'm somebody who I grew up. I didn't grow up in having a relationship for most of my childhood with my father. My mother never remarried or got married or anything like that. Or I didn't have a stepfather basically. So I did. I grew up in a family of mostly women, and most of my interactions with men would be the ones that I dated. So that's that's I imagine that's a big part of the problem. So if you're connecting with this, if you did have a relationship with men but they weren't exactly positive, the ones who were supposed to be protecting you, you might have some trouble having that authentic connection with a god. I don't think it's okay to just leave it there. I don't think it's okay for me to say, well, that's why I guess I'll just stay with the goddesses. No, that's not okay. If I am able to, in my um, physical world, my physical mundane world, have a husband and I have a adult son who I can relate to, then I can spirit in my spirituality accept masculine energy or a god. I would have to be open to it because I like balance. I want a sense of duality in all things. Um, so yeah, I guess this video is mostly about me kind of just literally off the cuff speaking this out and hopefully inspiring someone who's watching this who struggles with that. And I know I'm not alone because I see it. I see the people who basically steer away from anything with a god. It's not that we don't think it exists or the God energy. Is just that we're not, trying to connect with it. And if there is a connection being sought from us, a lot of us, we're like this. Oh no, not me. No, no, thank you. Sometimes that energy comes to us in different ways, and we don't want to deal with it, or we play silly, like, or dumb, like, oh, was that what that was? Oh, I didn't know, and we kind of just move forward. Oh no, we know what it is, and what it means. Um, but I think I'm coming around to this one just because I think it's time. Um, and I also believe in synchronicity. I have, because I have a relationship now with my father where I didn't most of my childhood, and I think that plays a part in why I feel this way. It feels like, you know, this it feels like just the right time, and dealing with having an adult son, so, having an adult son, and dealing with him. I've had a son who's been a boy more than he's been a man. So it's like learning to deal with these men in my life who I'm not in, some sort of romantic relationship is a real thing that I'm very mindful of. It's present in my head because I honestly, I didn't have that experience. I didn't. Um, it may seem crazy to some to hear someone say that. What do you mean you didn't? Because I mean, it's not that I didn't come into contact with men. They weren't close. Yeah, there was the uncle so and so or the cousin so and so, but we were not around each other. They weren't an everyday presence in my life like our father. Or like if I had a older big brother who was much older than me and would be considered a man. No, I didn't have that. So here we are. But again, I really hope that this is helpful or inspiring to kind of get you thinking a little bit more about why don't I have that duality in my spirituality? Why is it all goddess? Why is it all feminine energy? Um, and yes, I do think there's something wrong with that. I think that overall that's not sustainable for a full spiritual experience because that's just not how life is. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. Thanks for watching. Again, please like the video if you enjoyed it. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, please. And thank you, of course, if you've already have. Again, I'm Mika. This is Leap Taken. And thanks for watching.